Check out our socials. We have a bunch of great photos, some really good videos of a lot of stuff that we were able to do down there. But if you guys just had one fun thing, just one thing to talk about before we moved on, what was your favorite thing?
How do you pick? It's a great question. I mean, truly, the entire weekend deserves. And we're gonna turn the page to a mock draft and some news in just a few minutes. But you mentioned some of the people, Daniel, but everybody that is responsible for making this happen: Bahamar, the Grand Hyatt, BD Global, the ESPN sales and marketing team, the entire ESPN fantasy staff, and of course, all the guests that were down there. It's one of those weekends that you have to pinch yourself and think, we get to do this for a living. Yes, we do. It was incredible. We had an amazing time. I'm sad that it's over, even though football is so close, and I'm excited for that. My favorite part was probably dominated my clay mini golf.
Yes.
I had back-to-back eagles. The golf course here, the mini golf course, is the longest mini golf course I've ever seen in my entire life.
I've heard
Multiple
this.
par
I've
fives.
heard it was challenging.
Yeah, I mean, Mike was a couple margaritas deep, so perhaps his vision and balance wasn't perfect where you need to be for mini golf. That being said, I absolutely loved doing that.
My favorite part was that you guys stuck to mini golf, and I didn't have to escort either one of you to a hospital in the Bahamas.
That's a good point. Yeah,
we all stayed healthy. I think my favorite part really was the draft itself. Just seeing the different groups. And I love, there's a whole league that is from the Bahamas.
Yes.
And they came over last year, and I think they made Field and I native, honorary Bahamians.
Yep.
We still have the tattoos.
We have
half a flag left on my ankle and one on Field's forearm. But it's just so fun talking to all the different people, the different groups, watching how they draft, how much fun they were having with it. And I think it was a reminder to me how much I love in-person drafts.
Oh, it's so much
so fun.
Yeah,
so much
If
fun.
you have the chance to do an in-person one, you really should.
All right, well, I had two favorite parts of the night. One of them and of the entire weekend was I just love hanging out with the Nice Man League. They're just awesome dudes. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah. The inspiration for this all taking place.
That's
They
right.
are. Without them, we probably would not be doing this. So shout out to the Nice Man League. We played craps after one of the nights, and right now some of my money is recirculating within the Bahamian, infrastructure down there.
Yes.
Yeah,
You made a donation to
that's
Bahamas.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Long-term loan. It's gathering interest, so we'll see how that works out. But my favorite thing of the entire weekend was at the end of our Saturday night, once the drafts were over and concluded. We had an unbelievable dinner at Marcus on Top, and I got to do a shot with Jamal Williams, and I feel like that was it. That set it off right there. I'm good.
Your mama's favorite player.
That's right. So that was very fun. We had a blast. Definitely keep your eye out in case we come back and do this again next year. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but just start thinking about saving up some money if you want to come join us again in 2026.
We sure hope it does. And last thank you to our 4 NFL players, both current and past, who were there with us. You mentioned Jamal Williams, Golden Tate, Kyle Rudolph, and also Todd Gurley, who made it for the second straight year. So huge thanks to all of them. Great to see so many awesome people down there. Let's roll. Let's mock draft, baby.
All right. Well, before we do a mock draft, I got to ask you one question really quickly.
Oh, okay.
We got news that Joe Mixon is going to start the season on the NFI list. Definitely going to miss the first 4 games of the season. Just before we draft, I want to ask you, is this going to change your approach to how you're looking at Joe Mixon in drafts, or have you already been kind of out on the Joe Mixon train?
I would say, I have been out on the Joe Mixon train. You guys probably know that by now. I have been expressing some of the hesitation that I think came to fruition yesterday. The idea that he is now unable to play until at the earliest week 5. That's the absolute earliest. And there's been no reporting that has subsequently stated, hey, Joe's going to miss the first 4 games, but we expect him to be back in week 5. This one has been, I would say, very mysterious for quite some time. My draft strategy on Joe Mixon at this point is I would take him in the 10th round or later, and probably closer to round 12 now.
Yeah.
I don't know that I even draft him. I wouldn't draft him. Because it's not worth that. I would take anything on any flyer with any hint of a promise, because this guy hasn't set foot on a practice field. There's no indication about anything from the team other than we're putting him in this spot where we may or may not use him.
Yeah.
And even if he did at that point, would you really even trust him? I would rather take somebody else who I know at least has it's in the workings for them to come back than Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So I think we need to discuss next what happens beyond Joe Mixon, because I think we're in agreement. Do you see it differently? Are you still taking Joe Mixon and banking on the possibility of 12 weeks or 13 weeks of Joe Mixon? Because if he comes back in week 5, which hasn't been ruled out, that is possible. Because Adam Schefter has been on this for months now, and Schefter has spoken of it in this regard. Basically, not just when he returns, but if he returns.
Yeah.
Like he has stopped short of saying that Joe Mixon is going to come back at a certain point this season. That isn't to say that Schefter is saying he is out for the year, but the fact that that possibility has been introduced to me is noteworthy. So I am staying away from Joe Mixon, and we can see if this actually happens during the draft, but somebody has to be drafted from the Texans backfield. I am not particularly interested in Nick Chubb. I thought there was a chance that there was some reporting that Nick Chubb may not even make the team today, which, by the way, the final roster cuts or the first 53-man rosters are due by 4 p.m. Eastern time.
Which would be weird after all the stuff D'Amico Ryan said the other day about Nick Chubb. I mean, it would be, because he talked about him being such a leader and how important it was for him to be around it. Sure. Unless that was just important for training camp, I would...
Yeah, so we'll see whether, but my optimism is pretty moderate right now for Nick Chubb, which introduces a couple of other entries. All right, Dameon Pierce is a name that we all have some familiarity with because a couple of years ago, he was a fantasy football darling, right? This staff last year just felt like it was an oil and water fix. Perhaps the new offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, has a different feel on Dameon Pierce. So I'm going to throw one of my favorite. And this might not be a late round. This might be like last round dart throws.
Woody Marks.
In fantasy football. Yeah, Woody Marks. Jaquavius Woody Marks, who began his college career at Mississippi State, has ridiculous receiving ability. Like excellent receiving back who finished up at USC. He goes in the 5th round, I believe it was, to the Texans. This is a player who's probably not built like your typical 15 to 20 carry per guy running back, which is why he went around the range that he did. He's a smaller guy. That being said, somebody has to tote the rock. And when you're drafting a running back late, it's like who has the biggest chance or best chance to give you like a 4 to 6 week stretch where you can use that player at least as your flex option? I think it's Woody Marks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I have great confidence that he carves out this significant role. I just don't have a lot of confidence in any of these guys. And so I'd rather bet on the guy who's the youngest, the most agile, has the freshest legs.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If there is one person that I'm targeting in this backfield, it would be Woody Marks. However, that being said, I'm not doing that until the very late rounds of the draft. What I'm doing is investing in the passing game because I don't think this running game is going to be super strong this year, which is why I'm all in on Nico Collins and, the potential for what Christian Kirk can be as a late round guy. Jaden Higgins, a former second rounder, just this year, second rounder. So.
I mean, technically former.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that one plays out as well. But that Texans backfield, something to continue to monitor.
It might just be a stay away. Yeah. There might be no running back that plays his professional football in the state of Texas that matters for fantasy football.
We kind of did that last year, no offense to this team, but when we looked at the Raiders, it was like, is it going to be Alexander Madison or Zamir White? And the answer was neither of them.
There's always like 2 or 3 a season where it's like we just don't find value in anybody. Yep. And the Texans might be one of the prime candidates to take one of those seats at the table this year.
You know where some value was found? Terry McLaurin found a little, like $96 million in his
bank account.
That's right. The hold-in is over, signed a 3-year, $96 million extension.
No.
His ADP started to slip a little bit, but I think it's going to go right back up to where it was. I mean, did it impact you?
We knew it had to get to
right? We felt like this was going to happen. We weren't yet at the full-on red panic meter yet, so this feels like, all right, draft Terry where you want to.
My takeaway is that if you were part of the early draft cycle, or if you have been prior to yesterday, basically, you may have given yourself a discount with Terry McLaurin. There are some, I will say this on Terry McLaurin. He's an awesome player who just got awesome player money.
Yep.
There is a potential regression from where he was last year in play because if you look at Terry McLaurin, let me do this quickly. Over the past 5 years, which is sort of I don't know if he's played 5 or 6 years now, but look at his consistency that I think is really notable with one exception that took place. The last 5 seasons, Terry McLaurin has had no more than 77 catches, no fewer than 77 catches,
correct,
but no more than 87 catches.
Yep.
He's also had no fewer than 1,002 receiving yards, but no more than 1,191 yards. He's never had a 1,200-yard season or even a 90-catch season. The big thing that changed last year was after a total of 18 touchdowns in the 4 seasons prior to 2024, he had 13 alone last year. Yep. So remarkably efficient last year was Terry McLaurin. If he stays in line with his catch and yardage total and sees his touchdowns dip to 7 or 8, which, by the way, is still a good number, he might end up being, right now, a little bit overvalued. There are other players who are in that same tier who might have a slightly higher and more likely to achieve upside.
I think that's fair. And I am very interested to see where he is going to go in our mock draft. Right now, the Commanders are trying to be able to win a championship, which is why with a cost-controlled quarterback and Jaden Daniels, they wanted to make sure they got Terry McLaurin back. And by the way, if you're trying to win a championship, check out our friends over at Trophy Smack. TrophySmack.com. You get 10% off using the promo code FOCUS. Grab yourself a belt or a turnover chain or a last place user punishment. We got a lot of things on tap over at Trophy Smack.
I got a goat belt from Trophy Smack this weekend.
The promo, say that again?
A goat belt.
That's right. You did get one.
You did.
Promo code is FOCUS10. That is 10% off using the promo code FOCUS10 at TrophySmack.com. All right, let's dive into this mock draft. We got a 12-team mock draft on tap. One quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and 3 bench spots. Don't not draft a tight end, Stephania. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Someone's
Daniel.
done that on the show.
Somebody did that on the show.
That's exactly what's going on.
Somebody not named me.
All right, we are going to have our picks. Stephania, your pick 2. Fields, your pick 6. I am pick 10.
We're going for Daniel.
Kick some things off.
Finally, Stephania gets to go early.
Yeah.
I know.
It's about
Who'd you
stinking
take?
time.
I took Bijan.
Yeah, Jamar Chase off the board. And you
Money in the jar.
Bijan.
Yeah. That's what I said.
I said Bijan.
No, I didn't.
You said Bijan?
I said
I heard
Bijan.
Bijan. I heard old school version.
Maybe the French version of it with the mixing
It's
of the
Bijan,
way.
right?
Bijan.
Bijan.
Not
Bijan.
And now I feel like I'm 2 in my head with how we say
The
it.
issue is the emphasis. It's not Bijan. It's Bijan.
Can you emphasize why you drafted him at number 2 overall?
Field needs to get the sand out of his ears from the ball.
Ooh.
Why? Are you really asking me to make a case for this player?
He's like the
I
obvious
didn't think
102,
so.
right?
Right. And my question was going to be, does Jamar Chase go 101? And do I get him, or am I going to have to make a decision about Jamar or a running back, which is not something I've never find myself at the front end of drafts, so I haven't had to make this choice before.
Yeah.
And as much as I love my Christian McCaffrey, the one running back I will take over him is this guy.
Well, for what it's worth, our producer Tyler had the first overall pick. Houday decided to go with
Big Ben.
Yes.
He's a gigantic Bengals.
Huge Bengals fan, Jamar Chase. Not a reach there. Then Bijan. Jameer Gibbs is 3rd off the board. Then Justin Jefferson. Then Saquon Barkley. And
So
Field Yates.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Ooh, at 6.
I took I mean, it was him or it was CeeDee Lamb for me. Christian McCaffrey. No, Christian McCaffrey. I think we're getting closer and closer to the season. He is at full strength. Like, you're either in or you're out on Christian McCaffrey, and I am in on Christian McCaffrey. I'm willing to roll that dice because, and I'll say this until the season begins, you're getting a half-round discount on Christian McCaffrey right now.
He's just launched a new line of apparel this week. Are you trying to, hangle for some of that nice athleisure wear?
I'm going to guess that athleisure company will be very successful because pretty much everything that Christian McCaffrey does in life works out well for him.
Agreed.
So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to sort of prematurely congratulate Christian McCaffrey on a massive, massive successful launch there. But I took him 6th overall. It was him or CeeDee Lamb. Very tempted by CeeDee Lamb, but in a 12-team league, we only have 2 wide receiver spots. I do think there's enough wide receiver depth to go running back here. But once again, the first 5 picks are as expected. There's our first curveball of the day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dave Presley taking Nico Collins.
So
Dave is our resident YOLO drafter. Dave, who's has been with us for a long time here, has helped the show grow in immeasurable ways, and does a ton of stuff for ESPN in general that helps out. Loves to also party during mock drafts.
He sure does. UNCMC.
I wanted to make sure I said the good things, and then
then get there.
Hey, he loves to party.
Ashton Genty comes off the board right after that. That kind of wipes out the rest of the first-round running backs in my mind. And then after Ashton Genty, we got CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, who you just mentioned, and I went with Malik Neighbors.
Can I say something?
With the 10th overall pick. Go ahead.
He's my favorite first-round pick this year.
Malik Neighbors?
He was on Field's favorite. I just think that, and again, it's not that I have a strong case against any of the players that are being taken ahead of him on average, right? I love Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb as well. But Neighbors going somewhere between like 10 and as late as like 14 in drafts. There's a real chance he's the number 1 scoring wide receiver this year.
There is.
He had the 2nd most targets in the NFL last year, and that was 5 fewer than Jamar Chase with 2 games missed. So love the pick of Malik Neighbors. Absolutely love getting him late in the first round. I think that's, to me, I said a half-round discount on Christian McCaffrey. You're getting maybe even like close to a full-round discount on Malik Neighbors.
After I took Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, then Derrick Henry, Brock Bowers comes off the board at the first pick of the second round, and then Devon Achane. I'm staring at Amon-Ra St. Brown here, guys. And I don't know how I don't draft. I mean, Malik Neighbors and Amon-Ra.
I was a little bit surprised he was still there.
Think about the floor that I just drafted with my first 2 wide receivers and Malik Neighbors and Amon-Ra. I feel great about that. What I don't feel great about is being in a 12-team league and not picking up your first running back until the end of the third round.
See how it plays out.
But we're going to see how it plays out. This is why it's a mock draft. So we'll see how that one works. So
it's a good time to test it, Daniel.
Do you feel like Brock Bowers coming off the board with pick 13 is a little too high?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
You're all right with it?
I'm good with it and 2 things, by the way.
Potential league winner.
Yeah, that person is not getting him. Who is pick 13? That is
it's
Rafa.
12,
okay.
So Rafa, yeah.
Yeah, Rafa is not going to get Brock Bowers at the end of the third round.
Yep.
You're not getting him at whatever that would be, 36, right?
Yep.
So it's just not happening. So you can just push that part aside, right? So to me, it's a totally reasonable strategy to have here. And on top of that is I'm starting to realize that, like, I have Bowers, I think, 25th overall maybe on the board. Oh, sorry. And Trey McBride at 26. I'm a dummy, I know.
Broadcast professional. Bill Yates.
So my thing is that, like you're getting a gigantic positional edge over everybody except for the person that has Trey McBride and potentially George Kittle as well.
100%.
So I'm totally good with it, especially, again, we keep talking about this. Drafting around the turn, you have to be willing to pay a bit of a premium. And I just took Chase Brown, by the way, Daniel.
Yes, you
right
did.
Away from you.
I saw that.
Number 19. Chase Brown, who, I don't know. Did you guys know from week 4 on, Chase Brown was second in running back targets, third in running back receptions, fourth, and I don't even know what
all the good things, all the good stats. So I'm going to make sure that people know Brian Thomas went off the board after I took Amon-Ra, then Jonathan Taylor and Drake London. You went with Chase Brown Field. After week 9, week 9 on, he was good in all the stats that you just mentioned once he became the starting running back. Trey Hendrickson finally got his money for what it's worth. It looks like they're going to have a semblance of at least one edge rusher there in Cincinnati, but
they will.
They're still going to have a lot of problems.
I didn't love the strategy there for Cincinnati, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But yes, happy that he's on the field for them, and the Cincinnati team, sink or swim year this year.
Wow, so you doubled up. You got 2 running backs in Christian McCaffrey and Chase Brown.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great start, right?
I mean,
you can fill in wide receivers later, too, especially with how deep the position is. I hate saying you have a good draft already because that's what everyone in YouTube is going to say, but...
Can I tell you guys something? It should be illegal for Christian McCaffrey to be on a bye in week 14.
Oh, yeah.
That is rough.
That is rough.
Legitimately, the
final
NFL's not
week
doing
of the
us any
regular
favors.
season or the first week of your playoffs, and Christian freaking McCaffrey's on a bye.
I know.
That sucks.
That's rude.
It sucks. I hate that.
I hate late buys, period. I never look at them. We've talked about this before, like how much do you factor in bye weeks? I just don't care.
Same.
If it ends up being 1 week,
first, right?
you got to get there, and there's too much that can happen up front where you need to be worried about your players. So we got to get through plenty of weeks. I can always either have one bad week, I can find fill-ins. I just don't worry about it that much. I pick the players I want.
The part that's
the only time I care, by the way, is like if I'm in a super flex league and I got 2 quarterbacks. Ideally, they're not out the same week. That's a problem. Yeah. But for anybody else, I'm pretty much.
It really hurts the way that we approach the playoffs because you basically can't start the playoffs before, like in week 14. You have to wait until week 15. Otherwise, you are knowingly going into a playoff game in which you have people on buys, and that just feels crappy for everyone.
It does
involved.
stink, and we also saw last year what can happen in week 17. Now, they didn't end up playing it this way, but your Detroit Lions, Daniel, played Stephania's 49ers in that Monday Night Football game in, the second to last week of the season, which was Fantasy Championship week. If we had moved playoffs up to weeks 14, like some people might be like, well, what if you didn't have Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs because Dan Campbell is like, we have nothing. I mean, they had nothing to play for.
Yeah.
Nothing. And it was, I actually thought, like my real NFL analyst brain was telling me, like, this is insane to be playing your guys. They ended up coming out of that game unscathed, and of course they beat the Vikings the following weekend. But there was a huge part of me that is like, for a team that like has had so many injuries on defense, don't let anybody else get hurt. But like if so, you could have had people last year barking up hey, we should be playing in weeks 14, 15, and 16 tree for the playoffs because week 17 could be a bit vulnerable with situations like the one the Lions experienced last year. It's a conundrum, but week 14 buys should be flat out illegal.
I agree with you on that.
Illegal.
All right. Since you took Chase Brown,
Stephania agrees, and she's smart.
We had Josh Jacobs.
I'm on the clock.
Yeah, that's
Bucky Irving.
That was actually why I was nodding. Trying to do, again, inside baseball, trying to give the silent signal.
The silent signal, yeah. Since Field took Chase Brown, we had Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, A.J. Brown, and then Stephania. You went with the second tight end off the board and Trey McBride.
I was watching again. This is why I love being near the turn because I knew I could take Trey McBride here. I'm not going to have to wait X number of picks before I could see receivers that I really wanted. T. Higgins was available. Devontae Adams. Ladd McConkey had gotten taken. If Ladd McConkey was still there, not sure. I might have flipped the switch around. But with those two tight ends, and we've talked about this before, they are just a tier apart, unto themselves.
Agreed.
With George Kittle being, I think, in a tier by himself next, and then everybody else below that. And the fact that he was there just made me want to go with McBride, knowing I could turn around and take T. Higgins a couple picks later.
Yeah, I was going to say, you went. Go ahead.
No, you go.
We went from Trey McBride to Ladd McConkey, Kyron Williams, and then you took T. Higgins, just like you said, Stephania. So you grabbed yourself a nice wide receiver there.
Can I ask you a question, Stephania? And this applies to all of us, but do you think it should be required for us when we call Mr. McConkey his first name? It should be
Young lad?
Young lad. Like, you got to throw like a little bit of British inflection in there, right? Because he is merely a lad. He's a wee lad.
He is a wee lad.
He's a young lad.
Young lad.
As well. Young lad.
I just wanted to establish
Feels more
that.
Scottish than British, though, if I'm being honest. And then I'm not at all going to do the accent.
You're not going to do it?
No,
come on.
Give it a shot.
They'll never allow me into the country.
I love my team. Right?
For our audio listeners, after this, Stephania took T. Higgins. We
Love your
had
team.
Tyreek Hill, then Josh Allen, Terry McLaurin comes off the board, 5th pick of the 3rd round, and then Fields, you went with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I did. So Josh Allen already off the board, no issue there. I'm not going to begrudge anybody that takes Josh as QB1. But I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, we love the wide receiver depth this year. We've talked about how quarterback has good options late, but they really have some elite options at the top. I think I have an elite quarterback. I might have QB1 this year. I might have RB1 in Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
And I might have a top 8 running back in Chase Brown as my second back. So I'm into this. I'm very much into my team. This is my favorite one I've drafted so far. I'm not trying to influence the YouTube chat.
No,
I'm just putting that out there just as a piece of context.
Not at all.
I love that for you, Field.
Thank
All
you.
right. After Lamar Jackson, James Cook, Jaden Daniels, Amari and Hampton came off the board. I was really hoping Amari and Hampton was going to come to me, knowing that I started with 2 wide receivers. But instead, I decided to go with Jalen Hurts. Grabbed what I believe is the last top rushing quarterback off the board. Still have Joe Burrow in my tier 1 of quarterbacks, but Jalen Hurts the last one that utilizes his legs. So I left grabbing him there. And then we had Devontae Adams, James Conner, George Kittle, 3rd tight end there. And then I went with Chuba Hubbard to be able to lock up my first running back because I waited. This is what happens. Going with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hurts. Love the way that squad starts, but I got to start attacking the running back spot sooner rather than later because it's going to get thin pretty quickly. So I decided to go with Chuba Hubbard.
Okay.
Everything is going to do in this Panthers offense. Right after Chuba, we get a little bit of a running back run with Travion Henderson, and then Kenneth Walker III. And then Joe Burrow comes off the board, the last tier 1 quarterback in Field and I's estimation. Field, you're now back on the clock.
I am.
You've got 2 running backs and a quarterback and a boatload of wide receivers to be able to choose from here in the 4th round.
Yeah, there are really good options here. It's a PPR league, so I'm going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I don't think we've talked about a ton for whatever reason this season. This preseason, I should say. He became the Seahawks wide receiver 1 last year, even though it was a bit up and down at times. Remember week 2 last year where he had like 16 catches and we were like, oh boy, here it comes, JSN. And then he had some quiet weeks following that. There's no DK Metcalf. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is there now, but I don't think there is a tremendous threat to JSN's workload as the clear-cut wide receiver 1 this year. So yes, I'm in on JSN, especially in PPR leagues.
Yeah.
Like he could easily push for 100 if he has 110, he had over 100 catches last year, which is a big number. But if he got to 110 this year, that would be like a top 5 in the NFL. Wouldn't surprise me.
Not expecting Sam Darnold to do what he did last year in this Seattle offense in comparison to that Minnesota offense. But JSN, clearly his number 1 wide receiver. He should be locked onto him. So excited to see what he can do this year. After Jackson Smith and Jigba comes off the board, we had DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, and Stephania. You went with one of the older men that you like.
Whoa.
Mike Evans. You know, people tell me all he does is score. Have some
his name.
Well, there's plenty of respect. I mean, he's a legendary wide receiver.
He sure is.
1,000-yard seasons, double-digit touchdowns. That's all he does until he doesn't. But like this year, we think he were back in on it happening again.
I'm all in on it. I've talked about him so much in the preseason. Excuse me, I'm drafting.
Oh, back on the clock again. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry. I didn't realize you were back on the clock.
Some of us take our responsibilities seriously on this show.
Well, it's nice for you to have two picks so close to each other.
Yes, well, you can't see what I did yet on the screen, but I took Tony Pollard here.
Ooh, okay, Mike Evans and Tony Pollard.
To me, here's, again, we've talked about this. No Tajay Spears for a little bit, probably into the season. Tony Pollard will have that all to himself. I think he proved himself as a comeback player off that injury last year when he switched locations, moved to Tennessee, and now working with Cam Ward. I like Tony Pollard. Kind of quietly, I think this is a good spot to draft him.
Like it. Yep. I'm
like
in
that.
on Pollard. He's the very Isaiah Pacheco of it all this year.
Right.
Yep.
Or maybe Isaiah Pacheco is the Tony Pollard of it all.
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco is the Tony
They're the
Pollard
Spider-Man
of this year.
memes staring at each other.
They sure are.
That's what it is, yeah. After you took Mike Evans and Tony Pollard, sandwiched in between there was DeAndre Swift and Patrick Mahomes for our listeners for the podcast.
Yep.
And then after Tony Pollard, Rashee Rice, RJ Harvey, Xavier Worthy, and Field. I'm surprised that Rashee Rice went ahead of Xavier Worthy.
I was just going to ask this question. How do you guys feel about Rashee Rice at this spot? Because that's still a little rich for my blood.
I've swapped them. I was a Rashee Rice over Xavier Worthy person until it felt like we knew that this was going to happen this year.
Once you realized his name was Rashee and not Rashi, you became more of an Xavier Worthy.
That's right. I'm more of a Xavier Worthy guy.
Yeah,
it feels like
it's early. It's early for sure. I mean, there is.
You already
the
know you're sacrificing these multiple games. You just don't know when.
Right. You might get 4 weeks to start the season of a top 10 wide receiver going in the 4th round.
That's great.
Early 5th. But yeah, you also might be burning a roster spot for between 4 and 6 or even 8 games.
You just have to start out hot. I mean, and you got to make sure that you have good enough bench depth that one of the guys that you draft as a bench guy is going to be a starter for you for probably 6 weeks this season.
I am going to. So I took DJ Moore, and there's some strategy involved here that I want to reveal after I make my next pick.
Oh,
okay. I don't want to kind of lead you guys into where I'm going next. So if it's okay, I'm going to table my DJ Moore, the methodology of that pick, and come back after I make my pick, which is pretty close because, again, I'm right in the middle of the order. So there's some advantages of being in the middle, including the fact that it's a little easier to forecast who's going to still be available based off of who is the highest rated players in terms of projections when you're on the clock.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense, Field Yates. I'm looking at where I want to go here, and here's the hard part. And I've been watching this happen a lot in drafts. Breece Hall still available, clearly the top ranked running back, but I don't get good vibes about Breece Hall. I'd rather go a little bit farther on down this list. I already have one line in Amon-Ra St. Brown, so I probably don't want to draft David Montgomery.
No,
so
I like good running backs. I
also
like good players
running
from
backs.
the same team. That's okay.
But I've decided to go with Isaiah Pacheco.
Okay.
Because I think they're very similar to each other.
You're emotionally invested.
Mm-hmm.
I am emotionally invested, and he's one of the guys that I've been targeting this year because I do believe that once he came back last year, wasn't the guy that he thought he was going to be, wasn't the guy the Chiefs thought he was going to be. Yeah. But this year, after a full offseason, getting back to where he's at, I think I'm getting a nice discount on Isaiah Pacheco. So I'm going to grab him as my RB2.
Well done.
After that, we had Calvin Ridley and Baker Mayfield come off the board.
Ooh, Baker.
And now we're at a spot where...
Yeah, Calvin Ridley, I just feel like I can't wait to see what Tennessee does. I think they're a team that I am so curious, one of the most curious about because they're top wide receivers, Calvin Ridley, not really getting much love in drafts. Tony Pollard, going under the radar in a lot of drafts. What if all of a sudden this offense looks good? You know, you could have gotten great value with these two players in your drafts because nobody's really. I think people are like, meh.
It's also hard to say exactly where this spot is in the draft, but I think we've reached it where we're in the 6th round. I feel like here it is totally choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Like there's so many ways that you can go at this point that I all think are totally responsible and reasonable.
I just talked myself out of drafting David Montgomery and went with Isaiah Pacheco, and then he made it back to me with the next pick. You know what? Here's the thing.
That seemed lucky you.
I started with my first 3 picks being 2 wide receivers and a quarterback, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up at the running back position, and in a 12-team league, if I don't draft him here, the guys I will be drafting in the 7th round, end of the 7th round, will be a very different tier to me than the David Montgomery tier. So I decided to just grab 3 of them right now.
I know what you did.
What'd you do? I know what you did last summer. You went to the Baja Mar.
You turned pretty.
I did. You didn't that was one of my favorite Jennifer Love Hewitt movies.
You know that
back
show?
In the day. I know what you did last summer.
I turned pretty.
Yeah, that's what I said. He goes, I know you did last summer, and I said you turned pretty.
I do not
because
know
that was moving into a show that is more current.
Oh,
see what I did?
Then one from 25 years ago.
Correct.
Got it.
I mean, I can't help it that I'm on top of the pop culture.
Oh, I love it. All right, since I took David Montgomery, we had Aaron Jones, Sam Laporta, Jerry Jeudy, and then Field.
George Pickens. So here's the methodology behind that last pick of DJ Moore. So Moore went in the 5th round for me, and he kind of like fell below ADP and below his projection. I think there are some concerns. I've shared those about DJ Moore and like the lack of chemistry with Caleb Williams and the idea that Rome Odunze could leapfrog him. I still think so those to me are about the ceiling for Rome Odunze, for DJ Moore. The floor I don't have as many concerns on for DJ Moore. He still should be very, very busy this year. He had 93 catches in 3 of his last 4 seasons. But the hope was if I take DJ Moore, there are enough high upside receivers that could be available at 67.
Sure.
The likes of which included, but were not limited to, George Pickens, who I ended up getting. But I would have been happy with Jalen Waddle for sure.
Yep.
Jerry Jeudy.
Yep.
Tetero McMillan.
Yep.
And while I didn't get those guys, I did want to take a moment to note something that I said during the Baja Mar weekend, which was my must-draft player, and this was my curveball of the weekend, was Jerry Jeudy. And I think some people are like, but dude, have you seen the potential quarterback play? I think it's going to be fine. I think it'll be fine. As a matter of fact, I thought yesterday was a somewhat consequential trade by the Cleveland Browns. They moved Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to become their backup with Aiden O'Connell, currently dealing with a broken forearm or something,
wrist.
or thumb. Yeah, whatever it is.
6 to 8 weeks. Is that what it was?
6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. This, I think, creates a longer leash for Joe Flacco. Because, like, before you get, like, I think the rookies playing this year is more of a, hey, the season is officially not going where we hoped it would. We're going to turn over to the young bucks and play for draft positioning. Previously, you had to get through 2 veterans to get there. That being Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Previously, if Joe Flacco and the Browns start 0-4, then you go to Kenny Pickett because you're probably not willing to get to those young bucks until like at least halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Joe should be playing for quite some time. And if the Browns start 2-6, then maybe we talk about the young guys playing. And by the way, those young guys, I think Dylan Gabriel will be first up. And I think Dylan Gabriel will do a fine enough job getting the football to Jerry Jeudy that I am now in on a player who dominated targets for his team last year that I think will once again dominate targets along with David Njoku this season.
I mean, anytime that you can have a 40-year-old quarterback be your starting quarterback for a season.
Who cares?
I know. In fantasy, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And he's not going to use his legs. You know it's all going to be done with his arm.
He's going to start strong week 1 against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I was looking at my week 1 projections, my week 1 rankings. He's a top 20 wideout for me in week 1.
Wow.
Who's going is like wide receiver 32.
All right, well, let me catch us up here with all the picks that have been made since then. You went with George Pickens. After that, we had TJ Hawkinson, Matthew Golden, and then Breece Hall. The 10th pick of the 6th round, Breece Hall finally comes off the board. Then, Stephania, you went with your quarterback, Bo Nix.
I did. I was happy to take Bo Nix or if he had gone, and I actually was surprised that he didn't, because I feel like he's sneaking up on people's draft boards now because he has so much potential. We saw the beginning of it last year, and he kind of quietly hung out. So for me, this is the strategy of if I didn't get one of the big 4 quarterbacks, I waited till I filled out some of the rest of my roster, and I'm very comfortable taking Bo Nix or Brock Purdy or somebody who's in that range.
Yeah, love that, Stephania. Then after Bo Nix, we had Travis Hunter, Tyrone Tracy, and then you went with Rome Odunze as well.
I do love me some Rome Odunze. I've talked about this before. You referenced the DJ Moore sort of vibey situation in Chicago. I said last year that I liked the potential of Rome Odunze. I think we saw the introduction of that. And I really think by the end of this year, he is wide receiver 1, and it's not really a question.
I also want to note that Stephania also loves Rome.
Yes, just Rome in general.
Yes, Rome in general.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well,
good wine there.
There's
right?
a lot now.
That's right.
Of course.
Italy.
Yeah.
After Stephania takes Rome, we had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt come off the board.
Oh, there we
Love
go.
that. JCM, and then Caleb Johnson, Devontae Smith, and then Field reached by about 2 rounds, but got his tight end in Travis Kelce.
That's mean.
Well, this is part of what I said you need to do during draft day. It's psychological warfare, Fields Yates.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get in your head right now.
I'm unfazed by that. I like my starting lineup has been filled out, which, by the way, that's not intentional. Like I am totally happy to grab a third receiver or a third running back before I grab my tight end, all things being equal. But we got ourselves some value there. In
you did.
Kelce. I'm in on Kelce. Like, that will be, we're going to do this. I know Mike was asking about this over the weekend, and I can't recall who it was. That I think it might have been Ollie Gordon versus Jalen Wright, where he was like, let's make sure we have that conversation before the end of the season and board bet it. Another board bet opportunity there. Board bet opportunity.
All right, after Travis Kelce went Ricky Pearsall, Michael Pittman Jr., and David Njoku. I'm now on the clock. The only part of my starting lineup that I don't have filled out is my tight end spot, but this is why I waited. Because this is why I love drafting around the turns, but not at the actual turn. I'm picking 10th overall. This is a 12-team league. I need a tight end, and there's one guy that I want to target here. But I get to look at Team 11 that already has a tight end and Team 12, which already has a tight end. That means that rather than grab the tight end here, I'm going to grab him with my second of these 2 picks, and I'm going to draft someone else instead. And that someone else
Team 11 or 12
is going to be Emeka Egbuka.
Oh, see, I see what you did.
I think it's very similar to what we just talked about with Jerry Jeudy. Like when we look at week 1 or the first couple weeks, I realize where he's being drafted now, but he's going to be ranked in our weekly rankings higher than where he's coming off the board right now. I love getting him.
I thought I had a chance to get him in the next round, but thanks a lot, Daniel.
I both apologize and don't apologize for that, Stephania. That's just called good value-based drafting. After Emeka Egbuka, we had Jacoby Myers. We had actually a little bit of news on Jacoby Myers this weekend. He's decided to request a trade about a week and a half before the start of the season.
Yeah.
And then they brought in Amari Cooper, who doesn't really move the needle for me. If you look at what he did with Buffalo, he was a ghost of his former self. Yeah, unfortunately. But how are you? Do you have any fieldy senses around this Raiders situation?
Like that terminology right there. So it sounds like the reason he wants to trade is because they've had negotiations on an extension that have gone nowhere, which means not to the player's satisfaction, right?
Sure.
So he, and by the way, he deserves a new deal. He has been outstanding for the Raiders in 2 seasons there. It's just a matter of finding that number for Jacoby Myers. The fact that the reporting from various outlets was basically, hey, he's requested a trade, but also, hey, they're not going to oblige, makes me think this one probably doesn't result in any activity here. I'm going to continue to draft Jacoby Myers like he is going to be the Raiders wide receiver 1. And by the way, you are legally required to do this as a fantasy football analyst. It is legally required that once you mention Jacoby Myers, that you also note that he is once again being undervalued.
Undervalued, as always, yes. And Amari Cooper does not only for himself, doesn't move the needle, but he doesn't impact the way I'm approaching Jacoby Myers from that perspective either. All right. I ended up going with, after Emeka Egbuka, it was Jacoby Myers, Chris Godwin, Jordan Mason, and then I grabbed the tight end that I had as my last starting tight end I was comfortable with. That is Evan Engram. Stoked to be able to grab him here at the beginning of the 8th round. Then we had Jalen Warren, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren coming off the board before Mark Andrews. Do you think that this is one of those things where the Indianapolis Colts have said Daniel Jones is going to get the start to begin the season? But how long do you think that start lasts? Like, we're giving these pass catchers a little bit of a bump right now because we like that. Yeah. You think it lasts a while? I got to be honest with you. And this is, are we calling these fieldy senses now? Yeah, well, I like a fieldy sense.
I think the ship sailed on Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis.
Interesting.
I think it did.
When you say that, you think they won't give him a shot to start again this year?
Maybe, but I think that Daniel Jones, like, this is a team who could also start 1-5, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're like, we're still good with Danny Dimes.
Interesting.
And the division they play in. Go ahead. You can know.
I mean, listen, you put all your eggs in the basket of drafting Anthony Richardson, and I get that it's been a bit of a rocky road, but that's basically acknowledging that you made a huge mistake, and I can't imagine there wouldn't be some consequences and fallout from that. I have a hard time believing that if they are struggling with Daniel Jones, that they don't give Anthony Richardson another shot.
It'll be interesting to see the way the Colts. Yeah,
I haven't understood a lot of what they've done since they drafted
there's
Anthony
also
Richardson.
that.
That's fair.
So that's
that.
yeah. So that's why my sense is that like Daniel Jones may have the reins for quite some time here, which that's good for fantasy football purposes. It just is. It's not that Daniel Jones is this elite quarterback. He's had one very strong season.
Yep.
But he absolutely unequivocally helps the pass catchers more than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, the season that he did really well, he used his legs quite a lot. Was an unbelievable runner. But last year, you saw what he
was
did
running for his life.
Right. Yeah, I'm not worried about him from a quarterback perspective, but what he did for Malik Neighbors is what I'm hoping he does here.
Yes, it was great last year. So I have no
good with that.
Another reason why I kind of sneaky love Malik Neighbors at the end of the first round. As long, there's the foot thing that's going to linger, but man, that
All right.
guy.
After Tyler Warren came off the board, Field, you went with another running back in Austin Eckler. Why'd you go that direction?
Yeah, so he still has a chance to be their wide receiver, the running back one, right? Like I think this is my guess of how it plays out.
I was considering him.
Yeah, I think Eckler has a pretty good role for the team.
I'm on the clock again.
Coming out of the gates. Like I think he is probably the leader in snaps for the Commanders at running back to start the season.
Yeah.
Now, so this is the debate we had during the Bahamas trip. For those that may have missed it, is are you going for the floor of Austin Eckler or the ceiling of Bill Krosky-Merritt? Because even if Eckler only ends up handling 8 or 10 carries per game, he also might get 5 to 6 targets a game. He's still an elite receiving back. Like that part of his game, I don't think has waned at all. He's a really, really good pass catcher. So that's why I ended up with him as my RB3 and in round 9?
Yeah.
For Austin Eckler. To me, some good value there.
Love that. All right, and then we had Cam Scadaboo, Mark Andrews, Brock Purdy, and then Stephania. You went 2 back-to-back. You had Deebo Samuel and Zach Charbonnet. I was bummed because I would have taken Charbonnet had he made it back to me.
You should have, but you didn't. And I was just trying to pull something up. I think that there's some sneakiness going on in Seattle that people might not be paying enough attention to, which is, Kenneth Walker even missing some practice time in the preseason, already a little bit banged up and sort of has a reputation for that, even though he has only missed a couple of games. He's definitely been someone who's been a little bit compromised in and out of the season, enough that it was always a question of how much workload would Zach Charbonnet potentially get. And remember, there's some new folks over there coaching, and I think they really like Zach Charbonnet. And our colleague Brady Henderson talked about this. If you go and look at his article, the headline is Seahawks Zach Charbonnet challenging Ken Walker III at running back. So I think, for me to take him, this late in the draft.
Yeah.
Not only is he a clear insurance back if anything happens to Kenneth Walker, but his value might actually climb because he may start getting more of a workload.
Oh, he crushed it as a starter when he got the run last year when Ken Walker was out. I do think if they decide to have a little bit more of a committee approach with the idea of keeping Ken Walker healthy, we could see Zach Charbonnet, even just on a weekly basis, have potential flex value once you get into bye-week territory. So I love that pick, Stephania. Sandwiched in between your 2 picks, you had Javonte Williams and Quinshad Judkins. And then Colston Loveland, Stephon Diggs, Kyler Murray, and Field Minister Yates back on the clock here in the 10th round. What do you have on your team, Field? What do you need right now? You've filled out your entire lineup.
Yep, I've got 3 receivers. I've got 3 running backs. I have a very balanced roster up to this point. So to me, I'm sort of just fishing for upside here.
Best player available with upside.
And I'm just something right here that I think is a little bit off the board, and I might be putting the cart before the horse here a touch. But no, I'm not going to do that. Actually.
Oh.
I'm not going to do that.
That's called a tease. It'll come back later on in the episode. We'll find out what Field was going to do.
J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
So, I mentioned R.J. Harvey several times as a guy that I think needs to be. I think he's one of my favorite running back targets because of the players that are being drafted around R.J. Harvey. If you look at the other running backs that are taken there, if any of those players get a clear-cut workload within their offense, I'm the most enthusiastic about R.J. Harvey. Now, is it a guarantee he gets that most workload? It is not. But with J.K. Dobbins' injury history, I just think that R.J. Harvey has some unique upside. That being said, for the steady boringness of it, J.K. Dobbins, who some who cover the Broncos have strongly suggested is going to be the guy in the backfield, at least to begin the season, on some of those early down opportunities.
Yep.
In the 10th round, I'm good with it.
Yeah, 10th round is where you can start making some decisions in the 10th round where you look at your squad and you're like, what do I need more? Do I need like a floor because maybe I took someone that had some question marks? If you had Rashee Rice, right? Maybe you want someone that's going to be able to make sure that you get some points when you know he's going to be on the bench. However, I totally get the idea of going with a little bit of upside here because by the time you get to the 9th or 10th round in a 12-team league, you're looking at pick 100 plus. I mean, you just want someone that you can hopefully be able to count on at some point in the season. Since you took J.K. Dobbins, we had Braylon Allen come off the board. Braylon Allen hype continues to move right now. I mean,
I love the pick here, though, too.
I know.
Like, again, if we're acknowledging our concerns with Breece Hall, it's probably because somebody else is going to get work. Now, the way in which this doesn't pay off, there's two ways. One, Breece Hall just keeps the job and he balls out, which would be an incredible value on Breece Hall, which was round 5, pick 10. Or it's Breece Hall is no longer the featured back as a runner. Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis both have a real role. You just did a little thing with your nose that makes me
because I wanted to draft the guy that our producer Tyler just drafted.
Dang it.
I was thinking about upside. I mean, I've got wide receivers in Malik Neighbors and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're not going to come out of my starting lineup. I was.
And me too.
Yeah, I would have
So we
taken
all were
Keon
kind of
Coleman
eyeing him
had he made
around
it back.
this spot. Yeah.
After that Braylon Allen pick, it was Keon Coleman and then Dak Prescott. I wanted to go with Keon Coleman. I like the upside there. Like I said, because I've got two wide receivers that will never leave my starting lineup, and Amon-Ra and Malik Neighbors. So this is an upside play for me. That being said, now I just sort of feel a little bit different about it. I'm probably going to go with Juwan Jennings here. I'd like to get another wide receiver.
Do you want to take him, Joanna?
Little contract-itis, little hamstring. I mean, tell me, Stephania, do you have any updates on what's going on with Juwan Jennings and the fact that he hasn't been at practice?
No, I think it's, listen, it's a combo as far as we know officially. He had a calf injury. Just to recap, I think we've said this plenty of times, but he had a calf injury in OTAs. So there was something that occurred prior to the point that we got to training camp. And when he arrived at training camp, he had already stirred the pot about his contract.
Yeah.
But he then started to practice. So you're like, okay, he's going to practice. But then 4 days in, he tweaks the calf. Is it possible? This is how I look at these things because not right there on the inside. Is it possible that a player who's not thrilled with where his contract status stands feels a little something? Might not be enough for most people to sit out, but he's like, you know what? I'm not going to push this because I'm not going to take any chances right now. But now that it's extended as long as it has, it starts feeling like maybe, if everything were to get settled tomorrow, would he suddenly be back out at practice?
The recent reporting definitely skews towards
Yes. But I'm here to tell you that after being at camp to now, like that scale has slid. Like I think when I was there, everybody was like, yeah, no, it's a legit thing. Yep. And now that we're getting towards the end, it's like, where are we?
Where are we on this?
Now, here's the problem. Real problem from injury concern. If you're not doing anything at all, and all of a sudden you're going to go play, and you're maybe not in shape for football, might you be at risk for aggravating something like a calf where it's actually pretty easy to do? Sure. And that would be a big problem for him.
49ers are already pretty thin at the wide receiver spot, so let's hope they take it slow, bringing him back as they need to. I mean, you still have Ricky Pearsall. You got George Kittle, right? You got CMC. Okay, they got pass
Robinson.
Catchers.
Yeah, they have other
but they
people,
don't have other wide receivers other than they don't have a huge depth at the wide receiver spot so far this year. All right. After I took Juwan Jennings, Tank Bigsby, Joe Mixon. They do have Sky Moore. Justin Herbert, Drake May, all came off the board. I then ended up going with Jordan Addison.
Yep.
I'm not worried about the 3-game suspension. Like I've already said, this guy's not going to start for me
this round.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
That could end up being huge value later.
I can wait for the first 3 weeks to be able to be done, and then we'll see what I have. Because when Jordan Addison hit last year with Sam Darnold on this squad, he had some huge games, and he is a former first-round pick. We love being able to have that kind of pedigree. So just drafting a little bit of upside there as well. After I took Jordan Addison, we had Marvin Mims, Travis Etienne, Kyle Pitts Sr., Rashid Shaheed. Field, you went with Rashid Shaheed.
I did. I wanted Marvin Mims, but shout out to the person who took Marvin Mims before me.
Liz Lowe's has been all over Marvin Mims.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed, who just, he can flat out run. He's a very, very talented player. The mitigating factor is notable and significant, which is that his quarterback room is quite uncertain. Just not good. And by the way, they haven't even announced a starter yet.
It's not good. I'm going to say this cautiously.
I find that odd. I know Kellen Moore's
like, we're going to do it on Saturday.
They were asking him. Kellen Moore's like, yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. I was like, yeah, like in a week.
Some interesting decisions in general. What pick did they trade for Devon Vele?
Devon Vele, they traded a 4th and a 7th.
A 4th and a 7th. That feels like a questionable decision to me. We still don't know.
27 or 28-year-old second-year wide receiver who went in the 7th round last year.
That was an interesting
great business
choice.
for the Broncos.
Yeah, we'll see how things work out there in New Orleans. After you took Rashid Shaheed, Trey Benson, like him as one of my insurance backs late in drafts. Ramondre Stevenson, Khalil Shakir, a good floor guy there. Then Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft. That's going to wrap up the draft. We went through a 12-team draft. Again, we have more bench spots that we could have drafted had we filled out the full league, but we want to give some time to be able to talk about the teams that we have drafted. So, Field, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, do we want to, as the YouTube vote, has that started yet?
Oh.
YouTube vote has started. A poll is out. We'll see what the people think, but we don't want to be able to, push them in any one general direction.
Right,
we
I'll
want
run
them
through
to
my
make
team.
their own
Field
decisions.
said he liked his team a lot.
I do like my team a lot.
All
right.
So
It's a
I
good
will
team.
read it.
I would take that team.
Well, thank you. Here's my team. Quarterback,
for DJ
Lamar
Moore.
Jackson, second off the board, my highest ranked quarterback in the season or going into the season. Christian McCaffrey and Chase Brown were my first and second round
Great
picks.
first two picks.
So I then waited at wide receiver and I landed on Jackson Smith and Jigba, DJ Moore, and George Pickens in my flex.
Okay.
With Travis Kelce as my tight end. My 3 bench spots, a pair of, I would say, sort of boring running backs in Austin Eckler and J.K. Dobbins with Rashid Shaheed to round things out.
I like that.
Thank you.
Feel this is a pretty solid draft. I love the way you started at the top. Wide receiver, I don't want to call it thin. It's not as solid as the starting running backs.
I'm not super psyched on DJ Moore, but I understand it there.
Okay. I'm excited.
And George Pickens to me is a bit of a wild card. Like he could be fantastic.
He could.
At a flex spot, that's great.
I'm going to go to mine next only because Field and I basically employed opposite strategies, if you guys don't mind. Because Field started with 2 running backs. I started with 2 wide receivers.
Do whatever you want, by the way.
So my team is Jalen Hurts, Chuba Hubbard, Isaiah Pacheco. Those are my 2 running backs that I waited on. Then I've got Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and David Montgomery as my flex, with Evan Engram as my tight end. And then my wide receivers on the bench are Emeka Ibuka, who I think is going to be a fantastic wide receiver to start the season.
Love that pick, yeah.
Juwan Jennings and Jordan Addison, because I already have the rest of my starters filled out. I wanted to be able to have a little bit of upside at that point in the draft.
Steffi B?
Yeah. So I just took advantage of being at the second spot in the draft. And it felt to me that I was going to get one of the top tight ends. So that's why I ended up with Trey McBride early. I can't see my lineup yet.
Here it comes.
There we go. You just want me to say Bijan.
That's right.
Bijan Robinson, my first pick. I had the second pick, so he was available. No question in my mind I was going to take him. Very happy with going with Trey McBride at the tight end position, because even though it meant that I was, bypassing, maybe I could have taken one of the big 4 quarterbacks at that spot, but I was comfortable waiting. I think we've seen that as long as you are kind of eyeing where the quarterbacks start to pick up, you can get a great value like Bo Nix. I don't even remember what round I took him in, but I'm very, very happy with Bo Nix. He's sort of in that next tier of quarterbacks I'm comfortable taking, the Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy, what have you. Tony Pollard, I think, is being overlooked by a lot of folks. I'm happy with him as my second running back. He's a starter with no competition.
Yep.
And then my flex are just players that I like. I love Romadunze. Debo is Debo. And I think in that offense, we're going to get, I don't know, I saw a little flash of the old Debo Samuel in the preseason. I really like him there. I especially like him now that we know that Terry McLaurin is set. I think that actually boosts his value. Zach Charbonnet, I think, is sneaky, because he could get more playing time. And he's definitely look, he's on my bench. So I didn't waste a lot of draft capital. But if anything happens to Kenneth Walker, he is the clear guy who's going to take over. And then Jaden Reed, Packers offense is going to be good. I think that people, other than Matthew Golden, I think people are avoiding all the Packers wide receivers, which I sort of understand. And he's had a foot issue in the training camp time, but he's not wearing a walking boot. He's out there. He's around. And again, later in the season, Jaden Reed could be valuable for me being off my bench.
Absolutely. I do think I want to ask you guys this question because we had producer Rafa ended up taking Joe Mixon. We talked about him to start the show. I just want to give you a couple names that were around where Joe Mixon came off the board and have you tell me if you would rather go with, is it finally at the point where you would draft Joe Mixon just because it's too late and it's value, or are you just out altogether? Would you rather have...
Out altogether, you don't even need to tell me the names. And the reason I say that is because that's how much...
That's how you feel about it. Okay. Field, would you rather have Braylon Allen or Joe Mixon?
Braylon Allen.
Braylon Allen.
I'm just not drafting him.
You're just not at all. No matter what you do. Would you rather have Trey Benson over him?
I would rather...
Like you're looking at... I would rather take an insurance back.
Maybe. I mean, that's probably close. Like, I probably would just go with... I mean, the thing is this. If we get... Like, Joe can immediately go to your IR spot. Like,
yep.
Trey Benson, you are simply drafting...
And he's going to sit on your bench.
In case something happens to James Conner.
Correct.
I would take Joe Mixon over a pure insurance back. But a guy like Braylon Allen, who I think could lead his team in carries, to me would be more valuable than a guy in Joe Mixon who could miss half, maybe more than half the season.
More than half the season. And even once he comes back, we're not really sure what he's going to look like. It's going to be interesting to see. I kind of taken that same thing. I know we said this at the start of the draft, but the three of us put our money where our mouth is. I would rather let Joe Mixon be someone else's problem to manage throughout the season and probably go a different direction. There will come a point where it's like, I can't take Roschon Johnson over Joe Mixon. Like, I'll take Joe Mixon. I'll put him in my IR spot. We'll see how long it lasts. But it seems as though he has absolutely fallen off of all of our draft boards, and it's going to be interesting to see when you get into home leagues where he ends up going. All right, YouTube chat has chimed in.
Yeah, thank you.
Field Yates with 55%.
Oh, let's go, 55. Wow, I was just getting ahead of the curve there. Let's go, really?
They gave my team 27%. Stephania, your team 17%.
Wow.
I'm not sure what it is about.
Why do they hate my team so much? Why do you guys hate my team?
Well, 27% and 17% of the teams thought that the field shouldn't have taken Travis Kelce as early as he did, but the rest of the squad they thought was really good.
His team, I admit, I like your team the best.
Thank you.
Of our three.
Thank you.
But I don't think I'm 17%er.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I got a little bit of work to do, and this is one of the things we talk about.
You know what's so funny, though? We talked about this, and I'm interrupting you.
That's all right.
I just totally...
No worries. You can just say, are you done, if you want, and then I'll... It's the old Mike play.
Because I do feel strongly about this point, which is people get caught up in their end of draft scores or how's my team look. I said this at Baja Mars. This is not just because you guys gave me only 17% today, even though I think you're so wrong. Is that you don't win on draft day. Like, you don't win on draft day. You win by playing across the season. You win by listening to the podcast every day and hearing the injury reports and reading Fields' waiver wire column and listening to who he tells you to pick up on waivers. Yep. And that is the way you win at the end of the year. So don't be discouraged by your draft. Just don't draft players who don't have a team.
Yes.
Like they're not currently playing with a team.
I agree with that.
Or they're retired. Other than that, pretty much you can work your way back from even a mediocre draft.
And there is a phrase that we say all the time that goes along with that all of us have said a bunch this offseason, but the team that you draft is not the team that you finish with. Right? This is the team that you start with.
I'm trying to make a trade right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to make a draft, my team be what I would want to go into a season, or am I trying to get a good YouTube grade? And I really like...
I think the answer is to get a good YouTube.
And I think that's the problem. That's why I'm not winning.
When I won the draft, we didn't talk about it at all.
Well, because you actually have some humility.
That's why. Yeah. You're better than both of us, Stephania, is what it's worth.
I just want to bring that back. You guys did vote for me at one point.
Yes.
YouTube chat.
Yeah.
For what?
Once upon a time.
One time.
In a galaxy
far, far away. That is podcasting.
All right. That's going to do it for us today. We're going to be back tomorrow. Me, Field, and Mike going to be diving into a handful of more fantasy topics as we go into the busiest draft weekend of the season, getting into Labor Day weekend. So make sure you come back and hang with us tomorrow. But for Stephania and Field Yates, my name is Daniel. Don't forget to love each other. Be kind to yourself. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
You're in the 06010.